Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So we'll continue from whatever we have left with yesterday, right? Please tell me yes once the PPT is visible.
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Is the PPT visible?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Okay. So what we have seen yesterday, what is data communication? When can we say that a data communication is effective? All five components of data communication. In what forms can we represent data that we are supposed to send from one device to another, right? And then we have seen three modes of communication, namely simplex, half duplex, and full duplex. Then we have seen what we actually call a network. It is nothing but a set of devices plus the links which are supposed to connect them, right? Now we have two types of connections between any devices under consideration. First is a point-to-point link, second is a multi-point link. Then we have topology, which is the way the hardware or any devices are connected to each other physically, right? So we can say that it is a geometric representation of the links present between all the devices. Out of all these four topologies, we have discussed one which is known as bus topology, right? We have discussed how bus topology works, what are the advantages of using bus topology, and what are the disadvantages. Now we will move on to mesh topology. Now, mesh topology is the one where suppose these are your devices, right? This is device number one, this is two, three, four, and five. So each and every device under consideration will be connected to each other. There will be link from one device to every other device. Suppose this is device 3, it is connected to 2, 1, 4, and 5. Now this is device number 5, it is connected to 4, 3, 2, and 1, and so on. Right? So this is what you call mesh topology. Now, suppose there are n number of devices connected via mesh topology. What will be the number of links? How many links would I need to connect n devices which are fully connect fully connected via mesh topology? Does anybody know? Yes, it is n into n minus 1 by 2. Simple maths, right? If we have n devices, then mesh topology must have n into n minus 1 by 2 links. Now, coming to working of mesh topology, how does it work? Uh, any station who wants to send the data has a direct link to any other station, so it can directly send the data. Now, suppose this is the link between 2 and 4. Now, if this link fails, then there is no provision of sending data from station 2 up to station 4. Simple way of working is that no intermediate devices would work, but what we have over here is we have direct links between any two devices under consideration, right? Now, what may be the advantages of using mesh topology? Okay, fast communication is there because direct links are present. That is true. Accuracy is also there. So I can list down the advantages like this. I have fast delivery, then accuracy is more. Then I can call it robust, right? Easy diagnosis in case of damage. What kind of damage? Okay, if one of the cables is damaged, you can diagnose it fast because since every other station is connected to every other, you can know that which link is not working. If I cannot send a data from station 1 to station 4, so I will know that only that link is not working. Rest others are working. Why I'm calling it robust? Because there is no such concept like single point of failure over here. Even if one link doesn't work, then other links would work. They are not dependent on each other, and hence there will be no interference or there will be no effect on the other communication which is happening inside our network. Right? What might be the disadvantages of using mesh topology? Drawbacks of using mesh topology. Yes, this is the most common drawback of mesh topology, that is cost. Because we already know that to connect n number of stations, we need n into n minus 1 by 2 links, right? So that is very, very high number of links. And so the installation is also tough, right? In case of bus topology, the installation was quite simple. Here, the installation cost is high, as well as the way of installation is quite time consuming, and you can say it is quite complex, right? Any other disadvantage? Let us, in case if connection fails, yeah, in case if a particular link fails, there is no way a device can communicate with another device. That is also true. So if we have n number of stations, we would have duplex mode links. How many links? N into n minus 1 by 2. We need n minus 1 ports on each of the machines. Why n minus 1 ports? To connect with rest of the devices, right? Then we have dedicated links. That is an advantage. It is robust. Privacy and security is one which didn't come to our mind, but it is also a great advantage because only concerned parties are getting the messages. Those extra people are not getting. And example of them is connection of telephone regional offices, right? Moving on, there is a star topology. Now, how does star topology work? There is a central hub. There is a computer which would be having extra processing capabilities, right? It would be having high configuration, and you can call it a server, right? And all other devices under consideration would be connected with nothing but this central hub, right? So how communication will happen in a star topology is any station, suppose these are station 1, 2, 3, and 4. Suppose station 1 wants to send a message to station 4. So it has to send the message as well as the destination to the central hub, and the central hub will forward the message. Similarly, station 2 wants to broadcast some message. It wants to send the message to remaining three devices. It has to send the message as well as the destination to the hub, and the hub in turn will forward this message to station 3, 4, and 1 respectively. Right? So this is how a star topology works. So can you mention some advantages of using star topologies? Okay, if n is the number of stations, right, or devices, how many links do I require in a star topology? What is the number of links or this number of wires required in a star topology? N, right? And how many ports are required at the central hub? That is again n, right? So here you can see that the number of links are less than what we were requiring in case of mesh topology, because that was n into n minus 1 by 2, and n is quite less than it, right? Now, what will be the advantages of using star topology? Yes, definitely it is less expensive than mesh topology. The installation is also uh, simpler and easier as compared to mesh topology because the number of links are less. Correct, there will be no data collision as well because every station is having its own link. They are not sharing a common link that some collision would happen. Any station can send, any two stations or three or four can send data simultaneously to the central hub, which will forward its data. Right now, what about drawbacks of star topology? Why privacy issue? Yes, every message has to pass via server. That is true. There can be, in worst case, two things can happen. Either this hub can fail, right? That means the server is down or the server fails. And second thing is this server is hacked, right? So every message which any station wants to send would be available to some third party who wants to interfere or who has done some compromising with this hub itself, right? So this dependency on the hub is the greatest disadvantage of using star topology because if the central hub fails, right, there is no provision of sending message from one station to any other station. Secondly, if any third party is there who has hacked this server, who has got access to this hub, can read all the messages passing from one station to another, and so on. Any other disadvantage that you can think about? Why expensive? Okay, hub cost. And can you give me a practical application where we are using star topology currently? A simple application where you think that star topology would have been used. Moodle is not an example of this exactly because there the students have a chat facility, they can communicate with each other. It is not that I can only send messages to the Moodle server and the Moodle server will give it to me back. Yes, router is fine. But that again connects us to the internet, which can be called as an indirect application. Yes. Okay, you have to think of an application and tell me, okay? Moving on, bus topology, we have already discussed ring topology. Now, what do you mean by a repeater? Yes, computer labs is an application of star topology. Satellite communication, perfect. Now, what do you mean by a repeater? Because all we see in ring topology is all the devices connected with each other and that much number of repeaters we are having. Okay, they amplify the signals. That means whatever signal is incoming to the repeater, what does it do? It amplifies it, kind of doubles its strength and sends it forward, right? So what actually happens in a ring topology? Every station is connected via a single link, and that link is known as a ring. Now, ring topology works on the concept of token passing. Now, the ground rule is any station who is having the token can only forward the data, right? So, suppose station 1 wants to send a message inside this link, right? So, it has to check that the token is freely available or not. If the token is not available, that means some other station is using the token and currently he cannot send the data, right? Once the token is free, that is, the token is not possessed by some station and being released on the link itself, then what this station 1 can do, pick up this token, right? It can possess this token, and what it has to pass the token as well as the message to the next station. And in the entire message, it would write the actual data and the destination itself. Suppose it wants to send the data to station 4. So it would send it to station 2, 3, and suppose this is 5 and this is 4. So via the token as well as the data will reach over station 4. Now that every station is getting the data, they would check that if the destination address is same as mine or not. If the destination address is same, it is supposed to keep the data to itself and release the token. Release the token suggesting that now any other station can send the data, right? If some token is possessed by any of the stations in the ring topology, then it indicates that the network is busy, that the link is busy. Once the token is released, it indicates that now any of the stations can send any of the data, right? If you want to send any of the data, we have to forward the token plus the message. Are you getting the working of ring topology? Here, the role of repeater is suppose this distance is distance between this station 1 and 2. Let's say this is 1 kilometer. This is again 1 kilometer. Let us suppose that everything is 1 kilometer. So after traveling this much distance, it is possible that the signal or the message which we are getting is becoming weak, right? By which the message is coming. So what we need to do is to send it to a longer distance. We need repeaters, right? In your at your home also, if you are having, let's say, your home is having 3 stories, right? So if there is only one router at your home, it might be possible that at the third floor, the range might not come properly. So what you need is a single router, but repeaters at first, second, and third floor to get the range properly, right? So to increase that range, to amplify the signals, we need repeater at every position to make sure that the signal strength does not decrease and the message reaches properly. Okay. Two devices cannot have the token at the same time because since this is a very traditional method, they have not mentioned that what happens if two devices are uh, having the token at the same time, but we have uh, certain types of discrimination on the basis of token passing. It might be delayed token insertion, it might be earlier token reinsertion. This thing we will be learning in earlier chapters. Here it is all about the architecture which we are concerned about, right? So now we'll discuss about, yes, for such cases we have advanced methods like delayed token reinsertion and early token reinsertion, which we will learn in data link layer chapter. So currently we will leave it up to that, right? Can you tell me some advantages related to ring topology? Advantages of using ring topology as compared to other topologies. It can circulate data with more efficiency. Yes, it is correct. Minimum loss of data, that is also correct. Message can be sent to any length station with good accuracy. What do you mean by that? So what about disadvantages? What about drawbacks of using ring topology for communication? First of all, we have this overhead of token passing, right? You can say token passing imposes extra overhead on our system or implementation, right? Yes, token is to pass through all the stations. Now, there a security issue as well, right? Because the message has to pass through all the intermediate stations, and so we cannot trust on the intermediate stations to not manipulate or not at least have an access to the data. So security is also an issue. And what if this link fails? We cannot say the entire link goes down. If this station was supposed to send data in this direction and it discovers that this link is not working, it can send it via this, uh, be it a long route. Getting so we cannot say that if one link fails, then the entire network shuts down. No, some communication might be not possible, but 90% it is possible via other routes, and that can be considered as an advantage actually. Okay. Now we have seen all basic topologies: bus topology, mesh topology, star, and ring topology. What we have in hybrid topology, sometimes our requirements are too complex and application requires merging of two or three technologies, and that is known as a hybrid topology. Sorry. So here what is done? We see three individual bus topologies, right? There are three networks, network 1, 2, and 3, which are connected via bus topology, and all these as a group are connected to a central hub. So you can say that a star topology where each node represents a single bus network. And that is why we say that it is a combination of a star topology and with bus topology, right? So now if we combine certain types of networks, then we can also have advantages of both of them, right? What other combinations may be possible for implementing a hybrid topology? Now, as this is a combination of star topology and bus topology, what might be other combinations? Can I combine star topology and ring topology? Yes or no? Yes, you can always combine star and mesh. Then I can combine star and ring as well, right? For example, this is my ring. At every place, I will be having a hub, and each hub would be connected to 2, 3 devices. Again, I will have a hub over here, and each hub will be connected to 2, 3 devices. So you can say that it is a ring of certain hubs which are connected in star topology to the other devices, right? So you may have multiple different combinations, but what will you combine will be based on your application. What do you need out of the actual application will decide that which two topologies will be combined with each other. And obviously, there are many advantages of using a hybrid topology over using a traditional single topology to implement your network, right? Now we have categories of networks, which are LAN, WAN, and MAN. Now, what do you think these things are classified on the basis of? You might have heard LAN at least. Distance. Very good. So these categories of networks, namely local area network, wide area network, metropolitan area network, all these are classified on the basis of distance between them. Means how much distance the network is spanning into. Suppose the distance under consideration is only a single lab, a computer lab. Then we can say that it is a LAN, right? Because yeah, area of coverage. So what are the characteristics of LAN? The area under consideration is less than 2 meters or miles mostly. Then it is always privately owned. In most of the cases, LAN is a privately owned network, or you can say a private lab or a private network or anything. Example of having a LAN network includes link the devices in a single office or a single department of an office or a single building or at the max a campus. Right? Our Moodle is an example of a LAN network. Yes or no? Because it does not work outside your campus. The area up to which the Moodle is limited is our campus. Right? After beyond that, it won't work. So it comes under the category of LAN networks. Right? So this is one of the examples of a LAN, an isolated LAN which is connecting 12 computers to a hub in a single closet, right? So these are 12 computers under consideration. Each of them is connected to a central hub. So basically, it is a star topology, right? And you can consider it to be a lab, right? Where the distance is less. So it is known as a LAN connection, right? Now we have wide area network. Wide area network is having, we move one step forward from LAN, that is wide area network. Now here the range is somewhat more, right? It can be internet because wide area network can connect and can include a network within an entire city. Let's say entire Surat is connected. All let's say entire Surat area is covered inside one network. Then this there is some another city number two which are connected among each other. So the area which is spanned by a wide area network is very, very large. And you can say internet is an example of it. And yeah, what is this switched WAN and ATM that we'll learn in the upcoming chapters, right? So this WAN connection can also be point to point and it can be switched. Now, what is the switch that we will learn later? Right, but just you just have to remember that there are two types of connections in a WAN. That is a point-to-point WAN and a switched WAN. Now, also you can always combine some wide area network that is WAN and LAN, right? So here that is a WAN. It is connected to two individual LANs and so on. It can be connected to a further WAN and so on, right? So coming to metropolitan area networks, which is the third category of network, right? The coverage is between a LAN. Suppose a LAN includes a single campus. When all the campuses in a city are connected, let's say this is Surat city, and every campus is connected to each other, you call it metropolitan area network. As the name suggests, an entire network spanning a metro can come under metropolitan area networks. Let's say every campus in this city is connected to each other, right? So it can come under the category of WAN, where the distance covered is metropolitan area network, where various campuses, or you can say various lands, are connected to each other. Now, when various cities are connected to each other, let's say this is city 1 and 2, you can say it is a wide area network. So you can say that the coverage of metropolitan area networks is between what you call a LAN and what you call a wide area network, because when every city is combined to each other, or a country, right, you can say that it is internet, right? You can communicate with anyone in the world, right? So you can say that when two or more networks are connected, they become an internetwork, and it is said to be an internet. You all very well know what is an internet and what might be the formal definition, right? So this is the actual practical hierarchical organization of an internet, right? What do you do? Suppose uh, all of you are having, let's say, Wi-Fi in your homes. So you might be having an internet service provider. Let's say Reliance Jio is an internet service provider. So I would be connected to a tower of that Jio. So it would be one ISP of my area. Let's say belonging to a society S1. Right? This would be belonging to a society S2, or combining a sort of two or three societies, right? Then all these ISPs, all these local ISPs, ISP is nothing but an internet service provider. Vodafone is an internet service provider. Airtel is an individual service provider, right? Now, what these local ISPs are connected to, they would be connected to regional ISPs, right? Regional ISPs means ISP which is common to a town or a city, right? Now, all these regional ISPs in combine are uh, connected to a national ISP. That means this internet service provider, which would be common to a nation, that is, let's say, India, right? And all these things in between are known as routers. They are connected via routers, or you can say gateways. What are routers and gateways? That we would be studying in detail in the upcoming chapters. Now, moving on, how one country is connected to another country. There you have another national ISP. Let's say this uh, belongs to country number 2. This is country 1. And in this way, the various countries are connected to each other via all the national ISPs they belong to, right? So, any doubts up till now? Here we have completed the introduction of our subject and what we will be covering through the entire subject. So, any doubt in today's lecture or in this entire chapter? Okay, if you don't have any doubts, we can stop the lecture over here and we will continue rest of the things in the next lecture.